everyone, welcome to Virtual Back to School Night. Glad to have you here. My name is Colleen Liu. I am going to be your student's British Literature teacher this year. This presentation is really just to give you an overview of the course, what to expect, some nuts and bolts, and so let's go ahead and dive in. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Hawaii. I went to Stanford, got my bachelor's in English, minor in human biology, and then I stayed to get my master's in education as well. Also picked up a second master's in liberal arts, and so I do have a little bit of background there. And then this is going to be my 8th year at Cupertino. Loved every minute of it. It's been fantastic. Loved the students, the community, the colleagues. It's been great. And so my emails is sitting down here at the bottom of this slide. Definitely feel free to reach out via email if you have any questions or concerns, and I will get back to you as soon as humanly possible. A little bit about the course. And so it is a mixed group of students for juniors and seniors, which means we designed the course to kind of cover any potential path that they may be considering. And so we prep them for AP Lit, VMC, senior level courses, as well as college, straight into the workforce. We're hoping that the skills are highly applicable no matter what they choose to do in the next couple of years. The class is about making connections, and so we do like to connect history with literature and culture and current events, and so all of the above are kind of synthesized together, and we encourage students to kind of make those connections. As obviously is connecting with each other, which is always a plus. And then our goal overall is for them to be better speakers, readers, writers, and critical thinkers. And so to help them become better speakers and listeners, we have a bunch of different activities that allow them to kind of flex those skills. And so there's discussion every class period, both small group, whole class, Socratic seminars, which are a little bit more formal. They have debates where they get to pick a side and kind of defend their side with evidence. And then the performances, which are always a big hit with students. I say that a little sarcastically. They don't always enjoy that, but I really enjoy it, and hopefully your students will enjoy the process when we do get to make Macbeth and get to perform in front of each other. So lots of different options. Kids are talking about text all the time. They're also reading all the time, so we do read full-length novels and plays, some short stories, as well as some nonfiction articles. Usually those are kind of to add some sort of critical lens or to add some historical context, but they do synthesize all of these. And we do emphasize close reading strategies and purpose-driven reading so that they're doing things with a purpose and then can take those skills into college as well as in the real world and be critical readers and consumers of media. So in terms of writing, we do offer many different types of writing. We have argumentative writing as well as interpretive, and so those are the two main types that we kind of focus on. But we also offer some creative writing and some projects, and so they do get to flex their skills a little bit in these different units where they can kind of experiment a little bit. In terms of critical thinking, we ask them to synthesize regularly, and so the historical background with the literature as well as current events, and so they have to bring all of that together in conversation and kind of think about how they connect to each other, identify patterns, what does that mean, the significance. And then we also ask them to apply critical lenses to the literature, and so we introduce critical lenses and give them a way to kind of think a little bit more deeply about what the literature suggests, both on the surface and then under the surface as well. In terms of grading, do know that your child will have homework nearly every night. Most often that's going to be reading homework. We do ask that they try to keep up with the reading schedules. First semester is a little bit lighter, but second semester does get a little heavier. We are very cognizant of how much we are asking students to read. We know they're really involved in doing amazing things, and so we do try to make sure there's time in class to do some reading, as well as a reasonable amount of reading assigned between classes. But if they can keep up with the reading, that would be great. If they need any supports, they should absolutely feel free to reach out, and we can totally work with them on that. Grades do primarily represent the level of mastery towards objective departmental standards, and so we focus on teaching kids skills. Obviously, as you can tell by the reading, writing, and speaking and listening, we want to focus on the mastery of those skills so that they can feel very confident in those. And so that's what their grades are going to be representing. All major assignments will have rubrics, and we will go over them in class. We're going to have feedback, we're going to have examples, and so students will know exactly what's expected of them before they go into a major assignment. Don't fear. And then not all the work we do in class will be graded, but all of it will help them learn, and so we are really kind of working towards those goals in everything that we do. And so even if we don't collect and grade things, if you could reinforce that with your students, that it is still important work, it's important practice of the skills, that would be super helpful. We do have a grade breakdown, which is represented here. So the summative assessments category is worth 65% of their grade. That's the essays, performances, Socratics, all the big formal assignments goes in that category. Reading, 15%, annotations, reading quizzes. This is kind of like checking reading comprehension. Speaking and listening is 10%, so these are the informal discussions that we have in class, and then work habits is 10% for completion and timeliness. When you're looking on Schoology, you can actually tell whether or not students have been turning their work in on time. When you check their grade report and you expand it, you can actually see with a little paper icon whether or not they've submitted the assignment. And if they haven't submitted it, it'll either be missing a grade or I'll have a little orange hexagon. I do tend to mark missings pretty frequently as soon as they happen. And so if a student is missing an assignment, I'll mark it as missing. It'll calculate as a 0, and then when the student submits the work, I will remove the missing and input the correct partial credit score that they should receive. And so that's just how that works. And we do believe in revision and redemption, and so for all of the major summative assessments, students are encouraged to revise if they want to. And so this does require extra work on their part. They do need to reflect on the work that they've produced. They need to come in and talk to me. They need to come up with a plan based on my feedback about what they're going to be changing in the second revision. And they're welcome to come as many times as they want. It just does require them to put in a little extra effort because that's what's going to really help them to use the process to master that writing skill. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about Schoology organization. And so when you look at the course online, this is what you're going to see. You're going to have this banner sitting across the top with some important links. These are always available to students. And then when you open a folder, a unit folder, you'll see that that's how coursework is organized. And so we had our first unit, and inside it, materials are listed chronologically from oldest at the top, newest at the bottom. So students should always scroll to the bottom. And there was a specific naming convention to help them locate materials. And so the 1.2 stands for week 1, day 2, and then I indicate the actual date of the day that we did the work, and then I explain kind of what briefly the content was covered in that day. And so that's how you can kind of tell what's going to be in that page. A lot of handouts are going to be given hard copy in class, but you will have digital links to those, as you can see here, and so I will say linked here. And you can click that, it'll open up into the Google Doc, viewable, and you can either print copies or just scroll through and view it for yourself. How can you support your student? So there's lots of different things that you could do. You can log into Schoology to check their grades, their homework and assignment completion, have conversations with your kids about how that's going, time management, how are things going, come up with a plan. You can ask your student about what they're reading or learning, and if you want, you're also welcome to read along with us. We do tend to post the full-length texts to Schoology, so feel free to follow along. And then there's a bunch of things we would love for you to encourage your student to do, including ask questions and participate in class discussions. Really, these kids are brilliant, and I want them to be able to learn from each other. That's what they benefit from the most. And so having those conversations and hearing those insights is really invaluable to class time. And so if you can encourage your students to participate in whatever ways they feel comfortable, that would be fantastic. We also ask that you encourage them to self-advocate and seek help, and so email me, come in during tutorial, schedule a time to meet, especially as juniors and seniors. I want them to have this skill as they head off into college and into the real world, and so encourage them, if they need anything from me, to come and schedule a time to talk. Encourage them to make use of the materials and documents available in Schoology. Sometimes we post supplemental things, and then engage full-heartedly in the editing and revision process, because it really is a process, and sometimes that can be overwhelming for students, but that's how we all learn. And so we all benefit from the revision and editing process, and if they can embrace that, they're really going to grow this year. And lastly, I know it's a little bit difficult, but if it's possible, have students designate a study space in the house where they can be in school mode, preferably not in their bed, just because I know that sometimes that makes it hard to focus, but that would be super fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and for watching the video. I hope that at some point we do get to meet in person, but for now, I hope you have a wonderful year.